Hello everyone, welcome into Above My Pay Grade. My name is Eric. Enjoying some vitamin D today. Healing up. Feel way better. It's been nice. I took some of that horse tranquilizing medicine they told you not to take. Made me feel way better. But I was reading some Facebook comments on the economy the other day. And some people were saying we're reviewing the death of capitalism. And there's a lot of people out there who I'd love to have conversations with, who maybe they're the green energy types, they're the anti-capitalism types, and maybe we could have a great discussion. But they never offer a better solution. And I would like to say, we are not, and I'm going to make my case for this, we are not a capitalist society. We haven't been for a long period of time. And the number one reason we are not a capitalist society is the price of money is controlled. The price of money being controlled by the Federal Reserve means that the price of pretty much everything is controlled. We live in a centrally controlled economy, which has a lot of the hallmarks of socialism. And I have some notes here, my handy book, that I wanted to walk through. So some of the tenets of socialism we're seeing in today's world. And if you have a friend or family member who is struggling to understand, why everything is falling apart, because we're kind of ending this debt cycle, because this can last for a certain period of time. I've said this in other videos. You can run up debt just like you can run up debt in your own life, but eventually somebody doesn't want to buy your debt anymore because you seem to be not that great of a borrower. And so your interest rate goes up. So the gravy train stops eventually. And it also stops for governments. The only difference is they can print money, so they can cause inflation. So that is kind of where we're at in today's world. But it is not a capitalist society who has money that is controlled and printed and injected, and they play favorites in the economy, and then you had the bank bailouts in 2008. Is that a capitalist system? A bank that's about to fail because they took too much risk and the federal government comes in and bails them out. Is that capitalist? No, it is not. Okay? So when somebody says you're witnessing the death of capitalism, I beg to differ. Okay? So some of the tenets of socialism. One of them, public ownership. So people, the government, the people own everything. And another tenet of socialism, if you've never figured this out, there are haves and have-nots still in socialism. The haves are people in government. Okay, so the haves in capitalism are people not necessarily in government, but you may have noticed people getting rich. I put this on my Instagram a while back, but there are people in Congress that are beating the S&P 500. And there are people like Nancy Pelosi who are worth millions and millions of dollars, and they've been a public servant all their life. Tenet of socialism, people in government getting rich off their position of power. But public ownership. Do we have public ownership in the United States? It's getting more like that. And I did a video yesterday about in Germany. They have to bail out their energy markets, and they now are, the government's buying their energy producers. So these socialism light that we've been doing with government injecting liquidity into certain markets, government bailing people out, government giving welfare and benefits to certain people. The socialism light has created this environment where free market capitalism can't thrive, because your best friend in the market, the best way to make money is to be close to the printer. That's the best way to make money. It's not to provide a good or a service at the cheapest possible price to the people. It's to get the best PPP loan you can during COVID. It's ridiculous. Okay, so public ownership is one of the tenets. We're definitely seeing more of that in the United States. And if it's not public ownership, it's regulation out the wazoo. It makes it almost impossible to start or run a business and to invest capital into a business. You want to start, you got to jump through these hoops. You got to pay the government this. You have to, on top of the fact, Private property rights is one of the tenets of the United States, one of the tenets of free market capitalism. You don't own your house. I always tell people this: try not paying property taxes. See how quick you get kicked out. You'll get kicked out faster if you don't pay property taxes than if you don't pay your mortgage. That's right. So we've kind of lost that whole private property thing in the United States. It's not totally socialist yet, but it's socialism light. Let's put it that way. Another tenet is a planned economy. How, I love to say this. So we have a planned economy 100%. All you got to do is watch Jerome Powell speak and watch the stock market do this as he's talking, based off his voice inflection and if he ate his Wheaties that morning. Is that free market? How in any way, without getting into the nuance and all that kind of stuff, is it a free market of 12 people in the Federal Reserve meeting together, talking about their favorite ski hills in Jackson Hole, and then saying, hey, we need to tighten, we need to inject liquidity, and people will go, are they telling the truth? Are they going to stick to their guns? And the whole economy and the stock market is adjusting based off their words. How is that a free market? That's central control. That's planned economy. And my point in all this is, you want to fix it, stop doing this crap, right? We aren't in a free market society. We aren't in free market. We don't have free market capitalism. So when people blame this on free market capitalism, Federal Reserve ain't free market. Okay? Classes in society. We have the haves and the have-nots, and we have the people who are above the law and the people who aren't above the law. People who are above the law, politicians, etc. And I've said this in other videos. Laws are meant to protect the weak. You know what I mean? Because if you could kill everyone, if you could beat up everyone, you don't need laws to protect you from getting beat up. But so if you're rich and you have assets and you can subjugate people, the laws are meant to people that you can subjugate. They are meant to protect those people. And yeah, we see different spanks for different ranks, big time in the United States, and we're seeing that more every day. Another tenet of socialism: state is responsible for basic necessities. College loans, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. Those things are stinking expensive. And unfortunately, you can't find common ground with certain people. They just don't want to. And they just they're going to argue their point until reality smacks them in the face. And that's just the way it's going to be. But the one thing I'd love to find middle ground on is the math, okay? You want free medical, you want free X, Y, and Z. Let's balance the budget. Because there are there's only trade-offs, as somebody famous once has said. There's only trade-offs. So if you want X, you have to eliminate Y. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. So Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid take up a lion's share of our budget. We want to add to that. Now we're paying off college loans. You know that's going to become a behemoth, and people are going to want just college paid for and blah, blah, blah. All that does is devalue the dollar. On top of the fact that I'm pretty sure that the way out of this for the federal government, because they cannot stop inflation, because that's going to make them default on their debt, is to pay people UBI. So I think that's coming down the pipe too. And I've said it before, but it turns honest people into suckers. This whole fiat system where government prints money and hands it out in PPP loans and all this kind of stuff. Businesses who want to run a sound business, and then you've got a business on the side here who's running debt out the eyeballs, and the government can just bail them out. The government or the company that's trying to run a sound business, they can't compete because this other company is able to lever up to their eyeballs and take a bunch of risk, because there is no risk because there's a Fed backstop. There's a government backstop to this whole thing. Doesn't make any sense, because the risk parity that any business takes, when you're making decisions as a business, you make these risk-reward decisions based on, okay, if I go bankrupt here, if I make this decision, I could potentially go bankrupt. I might not want to make that decision. But if you make that decision and you go bankrupt and you know that the government's going to bail you out, you'll make it every single time. Think airlines, okay? So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But people continue to clamor for it as things become more expensive, unfortunately. They say, hey, I can't afford X, Y, and Z. Government should pay for it, not realizing that it's the government that caused the problem in the dang first place, okay? So, like I said, government responsible for basic necessities. That's becoming more of a institution in the United States. Social Security. The word social's in it, people. Yeah, it's not socialism, right? Okay. Another tenet of socialism is this equal opportunity. They sell this non-competitive world that we live in. And I always ask people, because the one area of competition that no one touches, and it seems to work perfectly fine, is sports. People look at sports and they go, that makes total sense. It's a meritocracy. The best person for that position, and it's kind of a dog-eat-dog world out there. But they can't extrapolate that idea to business. I don't know why. I just don't know why. But the nature of capitalism, and just think about this, the nature of capitalism is to offer you better products for cheaper. That's the nature of it. If I see somebody selling a widget and I think I can sell that widget for better quality at a cheaper price, I'm going to capture that market. Why is everything more expensive then? The government printing money, that's why. Again, we have a controlled economy. This is not free market capitalism dying. This is government control dying, because it always has these cycles, because politicians are incentivized to buy your vote, spend money. Okay? Unfortunately, we as voters, we love it. Okay? Do you think anybody's going to win an election? Let's say your boy here runs for something, Congress, President, El Presidente, and I come out and I say, hey guys, Social Security is insolvent. We can pay you the money that we said we would pay you, but it will buy you half as much. So we are going to have to cut Social Security. I will get a total of -5 votes. Okay, no one's going to vote for that. They will eventually vote for it once they realize, once they feel the pain. But a lot of people won't vote for it. It's just the nature of the business, unfortunately. So like I said, no competition. There's not a lot. Why would you? When everything's controlled, when you have, in socialism, when everything's controlled, why would you want to compete? When the government's going to tax the crap out of you, and you put in 100% more effort than your neighbor, and the government just takes all that 100% effort away from you and gives 50% of it to the neighbor, why would you put in more effort? That's why socialism always dies. But again, we have socialism light in the United States, and you're seeing that today. It's governments taking from people who didn't go to college to pay people who did go to college. Seems a little socialist to me. And last tenet of socialism is price mechanisms. Price controls, price mechanisms. We have price controls in the United States, believe it or not. Not directly on products themselves, but I have no doubt that that's a potential, because when you have people like, I saw Rashida Tlaib asking bankers the other day, will you commit to not investing in fossil fuels? I don't even know how to address that question, but the way Jamie Dimon did, he said, that would be the death of America if we didn't invest in fossil fuels, you idiot. Because you have children and unserious people talking about extremely serious things like energy consumption and just wishing for better things. But we have price controls in America because we have two sides of every transaction, money and the good or service. Money and the price of it is controlled. So they inject liquidity, they pull it out, et cetera, et cetera. And this has led to all kinds of distortions in the market. Don't believe me? Look at the real estate market. right? Look at the stock market. My big, I've said this before, but my big, like, huh? You know, like Scooby-Doo, moment was during pandemic, no one working, stock market all-time highs. If you need to know that it's controlled, you need to look no further than that. In a free market, if no one's working, no one's buying stuff, the economy is on lockdown, how come it's at all-time highs? Oh yeah, that's right, it's controlled. So the problem is the Fed. The problem is the centralized control. And the problem is not free market capitalism. Free market capitalism has its growing pains just like everything else. But I wish people would stop calling the United States a capitalist country, because we ain't, definitely right now. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think we're a capitalist country, or do you think we're socialism light like I do? I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.